My name is Audrey. I am 29. And the 4th of July was supposed to be the first holiday in 3 years I spent entirely for myself. Instead, I was standing in the security line at O'Hare, boarding pass on my phone, listening to my mom leave her fourth voicemail in 20 minutes. I did not pick up, not because I did not love her, but because I had already said everything I needed to say. And she had already made it very clear that none of it mattered until something went wrong. Something had gone wrong. Something had gone wrong. But this story did not start at the airport. It started 6 weeks earlier, on a Tuesday night in late May, when my phone lit up while I was halfway through a bowl of leftover pasta and an episode of something I had already seen twice. My mom's name. I answered. She sounded the way she always does when she has already decided what is going to happen and just needs me to agree. That specific brand of cheerful that means the conversation is not actually a conversation. Hey honey, how are you? Busy week? I told her it had been fine. Long, but fine. I had just finished covering for a colleague who took emergency leave, which meant I had worked 11 days straight and was already counting down to the long 4th of July weekend like it was a finish line. Oh good, she said. Good. So you will have some flexibility. My stomach dropped. She explained it the way she always does, in pieces, each one sounding reasonable on its own. My older brother and his wife were coming down from Minneapolis with their 3 kids. My younger sister was bringing her boyfriend and her daughter. Everyone was staying at my parents' house for the whole long weekend, Thursday through Sunday. It was going to be wonderful. The kids could run around the backyard. Dad would grill. We had not all been together since Thanksgiving. I waited. And then there it was. We were thinking it would be so helpful if you could take point on the kids while the adults get to actually relax for once. You know how it gets. You are so patient with them. It would just mean so much to your brother and your sister. I set my fork down. Mom, I already have plans for the 4th. What plans? I had booked a cabin in Michigan. 3 nights, just me, a kayak rental, and absolutely zero obligations to anyone. I had been planning it since March. I had already requested the time off, already paid the deposit, already mapped out which hiking trails I wanted to do on which days. She laughed, not meanly, just in the way that meant she did not quite believe me. You can do a cabin trip anytime, she said. This is family, and the kids are only little once. I know, I said, but I planned this months ago. It is important to me. Important. She let that word sit there for a second. Audrey, your sister has a toddler by herself. Your brother's wife is exhausted. They need a real break. You get to relax every weekend. I want to point something out about that sentence because it has been said to me in some version or another my entire adult life. You get to relax every weekend. What she meant was, you do not have children, therefore your time does not carry the same weight as theirs. Your exhaustion is optional. Your plans are hobbies. Your needs are adjustable. I had been hearing it since I was 19 years old and first moved out. I will think about it, I said. Do not think too long, she replied. I am telling everyone you are going to help. She said it just like that, not asking. Informing. I stayed on the couch for a long time after we hung up, not watching anything, just sitting with the particular kind of tired that is not about sleep. I thought about the cabin. I thought about how I had almost not booked it because I knew this would happen, and then booked it anyway because I was so sick of preemptively shrinking myself. The next morning, I called my friend Renata on my lunch break. She already knew something was wrong. She said, "Tell me." So I did. All of it. The phone call, the way my mom had framed it, the phrase "you get to relax every weekend." Renata listened without interrupting, which is rare for her, and meant she understood it was serious. When I finished, she said, "Audrey, how many of their holidays have you worked?" I said worked because that is what it is. 3 kids under 8, one of them newly potty trained, one in a phase where he puts everything in his mouth, and one who thinks the rules apply to everyone except him. The adults drink wine on the porch and call it family time while I am inside cutting grapes and mediating arguments about who gets the red cup. I started counting. Thanksgiving 2 years ago, I drove 4 hours round trip and spent the full day managing the kids while my mom hosted and my siblings caught up. Christmas last year, same house, same setup, except this time, my brother's youngest had an ear infection and cried for 6 hours straight while his parents went to bed early because they were tired. The 4th of July before that, fireworks I never actually saw because the kids were scared and someone had to stay inside. Renata let me finish. Then she said, "And did any of them ever ask if you were okay with it beforehand?" I thought about it honestly. Not whether they were grateful after. Not whether they said thank you. Whether anyone had called me and said, "Hey, we are thinking of doing this. Would you be willing to help with the kids? Are you available? Does this work for you?" No, not once. It was always announced, always a done deal by the time I heard about it. That is when I made the decision. I did not tell anyone right away. I went back to work. I got through the rest of the week. On Friday evening, I sat down at my kitchen table and confirmed my cabin reservation. Paid the remaining balance, printed the confirmation, put it on my fridge. Then I waited. The family group chat started filling up a few days later. My mom had apparently told everyone I was handling the kids, because the messages came in with that particular energy of relief that comes from burdens successfully transferred to someone else. My brother. "So glad Audrey is going to be there. We really need this." My sister, same. "It has been such a hard year. I cannot wait to just be able to breathe for a minute." My mom. She is an angel. I honestly do not know what we would do without her. I read every message. I did not respond to any of them. Not yet. What bothered me most was not that they wanted help. I love my nieces and nephews. If someone had called me and asked, and I had said yes, I would have been fully present and happy to be there. What bothered me was the assumption. The way my plans were erased before they were even acknowledged. The way they thanked each other for a decision I had not made. I took a screenshot of the thread. I want you to hold on to that image. Me, sitting at my kitchen table, reading my family celebrate my sacrifice before I had agreed to make it. There is something deeply clarifying about that moment. Something that turns vague discomfort into something with edges. I thought about saying something in the chat, typed a few responses and deleted them. The problem with correcting the record early is that it turns into a negotiation. My mom would call. My brother would say it was just a lot to manage. My sister would say she was not sleeping. And each of their reasons was real. I was not dismissing their exhaustion. I just did not see why my exhaustion was the solution to it. So instead I sent a single message. "Looking forward to seeing everyone. Will confirm my schedule closer to the date." My mom replied with 3 heart emojis. Nobody asked what schedule. Nobody wondered why I needed to confirm anything. They had already filed me under settled. The week before the 4th, my mom called again. She wanted to go over the plan. What time I was arriving Thursday, whether I had thought about activities to keep the kids busy, whether I could stop at Target on the way in and pick up some pool floats and snacks. She had already added it to the list in her head, apparently. "Mom," I said carefully, "I never confirmed I was coming." "What do you mean?" "Of course you are coming. I told you I would let you know closer to the date. I have not let you know yet." Audrey. She said my name the way she does when I am being inconvenient. "Everyone is counting on you. Your brother took time off work. Your sister drove in from Columbus. We planned this around you being here." I let the silence go a beat too long before I answered. "You planned it around an assumption," I said. "I did not agree to watch the kids this weekend. I said I would think about it." She switched tactics. She got quieter, which is always more dangerous than when she is loud. "I do not understand why you are making this difficult. This is your family. They need you. You have no idea what it is like to be a parent, Audrey. You have no idea what it is like to be a parent, Audrey. You have no idea how tired they are." "I know they are tired," I said. "I am tired too. It is not the same. There it was, the hierarchy. Their tired has a badge. Mine is just lifestyle." I hear you, I said. I will let you know before the weekend. She sighed the long sigh of someone performing patience. Okay, but please do not wait too long. When we hung up, I called Renata again. Not for advice this time. Just to say it out loud to someone who would not try to talk me out of anything. I told her what my mom had said. I am tired too. It is not the same. Renata was quiet for a second. Then she said, "When are you leaving for the cabin?" "Thursday morning," I said. "Good. I want to be honest about what the days leading up to Thursday felt like, because I think a lot of people will recognize it. It was not bravado. It was not some clean, cinematic resolve. It was anxiety with a firm foundation. I second-guessed myself constantly. I made and remade the decision a dozen times in my head, always coming back to the same place but having to walk all the way there again each time. What if something happens and I am not there? What if one of the kids gets hurt? What if this is the thing that breaks something permanently? And underneath all of it, one quieter thought. What if I do this and they realize they were fine without me? That thought scared me more than I expected. Wednesday night, I packed my car. Dry bags, hiking shoes, the good coffee, a book I had been saving. At 10:30, I sent my mom a text. "I wanted to let you know before tomorrow. I will not be at the house this weekend. I have plans out of town that I made months ago. I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful 4th. I will see you when I get back." I put my phone face down and went to bed. I did not sleep much. By 6 a.m. Thursday, I was already on the highway. The messages had started coming in around midnight, which I discovered when I finally looked at my phone at a gas station outside of Gary, Indiana. My mom, "What does this mean? Call me." My brother, "Wait, is Audrey not coming? Mom said she had it handled." My sister Audrey, "What is going on? I thought we talked about this." My mom, again, "Audrey, please pick up the phone." I drove. By the time I crossed into Michigan, the thread had shifted. My brother and sister had apparently figured out that my mom had told everyone something that was not true. The frustration that had been aimed at me had started curving back toward her. My brother, "Mom, did you actually confirm this was Audrey?" My sister, "Because I specifically asked you if she was okay with it and you said yes." My mom, "She knew what we needed. I thought she understood." I read that message 3 times. She knew what we needed. I thought she understood. That one sentence explained every holiday for the last decade. I pulled off at a rest stop and let myself sit with it for a minute. Not because I felt guilty. Because I felt something that took me a second to name. It was grief a little bit. For all the times I had understood what they needed and arranged myself around it. For all the versions of myself that had sat in that house cutting grapes and watching the door and telling myself it was love. It was love. It was also too much to carry alone. I typed a message into the group thread and did not let myself edit it. I want to be clear about something. I never agreed to watch the kids this weekend. I said I would think about it and let everyone know. I made other plans months ago and I told Mom I had them. I am not available to babysit this weekend. I hope you all have a great 4th. I love you. Then I got back on the highway. My mom called at 11. Then at 11:15. Then at 11:15. Then at 11:40. I picked up just before noon, parked in front of a diner where I planned to have a very large breakfast. Her voice was different from the night before. The performance was gone. She sounded genuinely overwhelmed, which did not make her wrong, but also did not make her right. "Audrey," she said, "the kids are already here. Your brother and his wife had dinner reservations tonight. Your sister cannot manage all 3 on her own, and I cannot do it alone either. We are not prepared for this." "I know," I said. "Then come home. Please. We will figure out the money. We will pay for a different cabin, whatever you need." "It is not about the cabin," I said. "It is about the fact that you told everyone I would do this before you asked me." Again. It is the same thing every time. She started to say something about how it was not intentional, how she just assumed, how she thought I would understand. "I know you thought that," I said. "That is kind of the whole problem." A kid screamed somewhere in the background. Something fell. I heard my brother's voice, sharp and close. Audrey, she whispered. I cannot do this without you. I looked through the diner window at the families inside having breakfast. A couple sharing a newspaper. An older man reading alone. A mom feeding a baby in a high chair while the dad chased a toddler around the booth, both of them laughing about it. You can, I said. It is going to be messy and it is not going to look the way you planned. But you can. She did not say anything for a moment. I love you, I told her. But I cannot keep doing this to myself. I will talk to you when I get back. I hung up and went inside and ordered eggs and coffee and sat by the window and watched the parking lot and felt, underneath the guilt and the anxiety and the low hum of wondering if I had just blown something up permanently. Something I had not felt in a long time around this family. Relief. Pure, uncomplicated, slightly terrifying relief. The messages kept coming throughout the day. My sister at one point sent a voice memo that was mostly just background chaos, I think accidentally. My brother texted twice, once to say this was not fair and once to say he hoped I was okay, which was at least an improvement. My mom went quiet around 4 in the afternoon, which was either resignation or the beginning of something worse. That evening, I sat on the cabin porch with a glass of wine and watched the tree line go orange and then dark. Somewhere across the lake, someone was already starting fireworks, small ones, the kind that pop and scatter. I did not have to be anywhere. I did not have to be responsible for anyone. I did not have to hold any of it together. I thought about everyone at my parents' house. Dinner probably happened late. Someone probably cried about something minor and it became a whole thing. The kids probably stayed up past bedtime because nobody wanted to be the one to deal with the meltdown. My mom probably ate her meal standing up. I knew that landscape. I had been the thing that smoothed it down every time. And I felt for them. I genuinely did. But I also understood for the first time that my compassion had been functioning like a subsidy. It had kept them from ever having to figure out another way. If you always absorb the chaos, no one ever learns to contain it themselves. The 4th itself was quiet. I kayaked in the morning. Made lunch at the cabin. Read for 3 hours. Watched the real fireworks from the dock that night with a blanket around my shoulders and not one single phone notification turned on. It was the best 4th of July I had had in years. My mom called 10 days later. I had been back home for almost a week by then, back in my normal routine. And I had been waiting for it, not with dread exactly. More like the way you wait for a conversation you know has to happen. She called on a Sunday evening. Her voice was different. Quieter than I had expected. Not the quiet of someone collecting themselves to argue, but the quiet of someone who had been thinking for a long time and had finally run out of defenses. She said, I want to talk, not fight, just talk. I said okay. She took a breath. Your brother said something to me after you left, she started. He said he realized he had never once in his adult life called you and asked what you needed. That he just expected you would be there because you always had been. I did not say anything. She kept going. And your sister said when she thought about it, she could not remember a single time she had asked if it was okay. She just assumed because I told her it was handled. I hear you, I said. I told your brother and sister that I owe you an apology, she said. And I do. I made promises on your behalf without asking you. I built plans around you like you were a piece of the furniture. And when you tried to tell me you had other plans, I made you feel like your plans were less real than everyone else's. I had to set the phone down for a second and look at the ceiling. She was still talking when I picked it back up. I think I did this because it was easy, she said. You never made a scene. You always showed up. And somewhere along the way, I stopped thinking of it as asking a favor and started thinking of it as just the way things were. That was wrong. I should have known better. Her voice wavered at the end of that, not quite crying, but close. I swallowed hard. You have been doing this since I was in my early 20s, I said. Every holiday. Every time someone needed a last-minute solution, my name went on it without my consent. I lost weekends. I missed things. I showed up and smiled and did not say anything because I did not want to be the difficult one. I know, she said. I know. I am not saying that to punish you, I told her. I am saying it because I need you to understand that this was not one incident. This was a pattern. And the pattern has to stop. She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was steadier. I want to stop it, she said. Genuinely, I do not want you coming to holidays because you feel trapped. I want you there because you want to be. And if you do not want to be, I need to be able to hear that without it turning into an emergency. I sat with that. Then I said, if you ever need me to babysit, you ask me in advance. You tell me what is involved. You ask, not tell. And if I say yes, we talk about what that looks like, including whether it is compensated. Because 5 kids for a full weekend is not a favor, it is labor. She made a small sound. Not quite a laugh, not quite a protest. That is fair, she said finally. And if you ever again tell anyone that I promised something I did not promise, I said, that is the last time I come to anything for a very long time. I mean that. I believe you, she said quietly. I do. We talked for another 40 minutes. About smaller things. About how the 4th had actually gone, which apparently involved my brother burning the burgers and my sister's daughter having a total meltdown at 8 p.m. that took 2 adults 45 minutes to resolve. My mom laughed telling it, but it was the tired kind of laugh that comes from surviving something. She said, I did not realize how much you were carrying until you were not there to carry it. That is usually how it works, I told her. Before we got off the phone, she said, I want to ask you something. For Labor Day, we are thinking of doing a small barbecue, just us. No big plan. I would like you to come, just as yourself. No job, no responsibility, just come eat. I said I would think about it and let her know. She laughed. A real one this time. I will actually wait for your answer, she said. Good, I told her. A few weeks later, my sister texted separately. She said she was sorry she had not called sooner, that she had been embarrassed to realize she could not think of a single time she had thought to ask. She said she had been taking me for granted and she knew it and she was going to try to do better. It was not a perfect apology. It was a little clumsy, and she tried to justify herself in the middle of it before catching herself. But it was real, and real matters more than polished. I am not going to tell you everything is fixed. That is not how these things work. Patterns that have been building for 10 years do not dissolve in one holiday and one phone call. But something did shift, and I can feel it when I talk to them now. A slight recalibration, a new awareness that I am a person with my own plans and my own limits, not a backup generator that runs on guilt. The question I keep coming back to, the one I want to leave you with, is this. How many of us grew up being the one who handled it? The reliable one, the available one, the one whose life looked simple enough from the outside that people felt comfortable layering their needs onto it? And how many of us spent years quietly believing that was just our role, that it meant people trusted us, that it was some kind of compliment? It is not a compliment, it is an assumption, and the difference matters. You are allowed to have plans. You are allowed to take up the full space of your own life without leaving room for everyone else's overflow. The people who love you should be able to hear that. And if they cannot, well, Michigan in July is very beautiful. I have the photos to prove it. So tell me, was I wrong to go? Should I have said no months earlier, louder, more clearly? Or do you think sometimes the only way to make people see how much you have been holding is to set it down and let them feel the weight? I have thought about that 4th of July a lot since it happened. Not with regret, exactly. More the way you turn a rock over in your hand and keep finding new edges. What I did not expect was how much it would clarify things that had been blurry for years. Not just with my mom, but with myself. Because the honest truth is that I had been a willing participant in that pattern for a long time. Not willing in the sense that I enjoyed it. Willing in the sense that I kept showing up, kept absorbing, kept telling myself it was easier than the alternative. Every time I said yes when I wanted to say no, I was teaching the people around me exactly what my limits were. I was showing them, very clearly, that my limits did not really exist. That is not their fault entirely. That is something I had to sit with. Renata asked me once, a few weeks after everything settled, whether I felt guilty for going. I told her I felt guilty the whole drive to Michigan and not much after that. She said that was probably about right. I think the guilt was real and also beside the point. Guilt told me I cared about my family, which I already knew. What the guilt could not tell me was whether staying would have been the right thing. And it would not have been. Not because my needs matter more than theirs, but because needs do not work that way. You cannot rank them like that. My brother was tired. My sister was overwhelmed. My mom had overpromised and underplanned. All of that was true. And I had my own version of tired that nobody had ever thought to ask about because I had never made them reckon with it. Here's what I have come to understand about how these things actually work. Stripped of any dramatics, actions have weight. The things we do consistently become the expectations other people build around us. My consistency had become a load-bearing wall in everyone else's holiday plans, and nobody, including me, had ever stopped to check whether the wall wanted to be there. When I removed myself from the equation, the structure had to hold on its own. It did, messily, imperfectly, with burnt burgers and a long bedtime, and my mom on her knees scrubbing frosting out of a rug, but it held. And that mattered more than any apology because it proved something that words cannot. They were capable of managing without me. They had just never been asked to. The intelligence in that situation was not mine for going. It was what happened after. My brother, who had never once thought to call and ask what I needed, suddenly thought of it. My sister, who had always accepted my presence as a given, felt the absence and named it out loud. My mom, who had built her version of family around my compliance, had to look at the structure she had made and see it clearly for maybe the first time. That is what I want to leave with anyone who recognizes themselves in this story. Not that you should disappear to make a point, but that your presence has value, and value only becomes visible when it is not guaranteed. You are not doing anyone a favor by making yourself infinitely available. You are actually making it harder for them to learn to respect what you bring, because they never have to think about what it would cost to lose it. I went to the Labor Day barbecue. My mom asked me first, genuinely, with actual space in the question for me to say no. I said yes. We sat in the backyard and the kids ran around and nobody handed me a schedule or a list. I just got to be there. It was the best I had felt at a family event in years. And it cost everyone exactly what it should have cost. A little honesty, some discomfort, and the willingness to finally ask,